Hi, everyone. This is Rob Adams of the Actors Workshop, and welcome back to a new episode of In the Abyss. And this is our last, I understand it's November 5th, but this is our last um, horror film, thriller, suspense film episode for October. Just had a busy week, haven't got around to filming it till today, but I wanted to cover the last 7 films I did last week. Last film I watched was actually on Saturday, October 30th. So, as promised, I got through at least 15. I think I did 13. I think I did about 18 for the month, which is not bad considering my schedule. And like we talked about last week, it always seems that these movies kind of grab a theme for me. And last week we were talking about the eyes. Well, the theme that really was strong with this next round, and you have to understand, we're talking eyes, we're talking belief, reality, all these things. It always pertains to everything. If the acting's good, the acting's good. If it's not, it's not. But there's just little things like last week when I was watching the films that I was watching, I just sat there and went, wow, the eyes are really powerful. Well, when I was watching these films, it was, man, they have such conviction in the things that they say and the things that they do, which causes the eyes to be so strong. So there is that connection, right? Because it's working from in here, which reflects through here. But when I watch these movies, these actors and actresses just believe. So when they speak, it's the same way you would speak in real life. You have that conviction, you have that passion, you have that belief, you have all of that. And then once again, it reflects in the eyes. So let's go through these real quick and see what you guys think. So the first one I did for starting the week was Dr. Fives, another Vincent Price movie, another Region B that I finally got around to watching because I got that region-free Blu-ray player last year. It's Vincent Price, and he was the first one that last week I thought, man, look at his eyes. The guy never blinks. And he was the first one this week where I'm sitting there going, man, his conviction, everything to him is so real. That's why he was so good at his genre, right? The horror, thriller, suspense. And he just fitted his voice. And that's why he was used in voiceovers with the Alice Cooper song, which we've talked about with the end of Thriller that Michael Jackson used, and many other things. This story's kind of fun. It's kind of cheesy, but it's kind of a Phantom of the Opera type story. And the gist of it is his wife was killed or died during surgery, and he blames the group of doctors that were performing the surgery or whatever. And he's picking them off one at a time. But there's more to the story, and it's deeper. And that's where that Phantom of the Opera, at least in my opinion, feel comes into play. But, you know, once again, if you're a Vincent Price fan or just a fan of this genre, these 60s movies, I love the Technicolor. I love the way they're shot. I just, there's something about this period of time that really just makes these movies fantastic. So check it out. Next up is a newer one I got in my Kino Rocktober purchases. It's The House of the Long Shadows, 1983. But what drew me to this was Vincent Price, Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, like three legends. And for those who don't know, Peter Cushing played Dr. Frankenstein in the Hammer film reboots of the Frankenstein films. Christopher Lee played Dracula in the Hammer films when they rebooted Dracula from Universal, right? So you had the Universal monsters, which started it all. And then Hammer films kind of rebooted the franchise, The Mummy, Jekyll and Hyde, etc. And we'll get to Hammer films in a minute. But anyways, and then you had Vincent Price. The lead in this film, as funny as it may seem, is Desi Arnaz Jr. And while we were watching the film, Amy actually asked me, she was like, what do you think of his acting? And my instinct was, well, he has the name value. Having that name is pretty nice. But he was okay. Wasn't great. Didn't ruin the movie. He was okay. What's cool about it is he's a writer and he goes to this house to write a story overnight. And when it's all said and done, is he living the story or is he living the reality? And that's kind of the fun of it. You add the legendary actors to it. John Carradine is in it as well. Very classic, older actor, been around a long time. And like I said, the cast is phenomenal, which makes the movie great and fun to watch. And it actually was a really enjoyable film. It was a blind buy. I did it purely by who was in it, and it was worth it. All right, so I just talked about Hammer films. So I got this box set, and I took the slipcase off. It's up there. It's 20 or so films that Hammer released. Yeah, I guess it is 20. And one of them on here was called Stop Before I Kill. And when I was reading it, or Stop Me Before I Kill, what it's called. But when I was reading about it, they said it's one of the better movies that's in this box set. So I thought I'd give it a whirl. It was really good. It was really good. I like movies where the actors and actresses I don't necessarily know, but it really comes down to the period of time, right? These older movies, the Hammer films, it's worth it. You have the legendary ones because there are the ones we just talked about in here with Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, etc. But I do like the fact that I could watch movies that I'd never heard of before that kind of go in that collection. It's an interesting story. This guy and his wife are driving toward their honeymoon. They get in a car accident, and his brain trauma is making him have feelings of murder. It's not as black and white as that story. There's a lot of plots, twists and turns to the final conclusion. And when you think you've got it, you don't. There's more to it. And so I thought it was a fun movie and a fun journey. And it was definitely worth checking out, which kind of makes me want to check out other ones from this box set. And it probably won't be revisited or anything until next year, but at least they're there. And I got a lot in the catalog to watch. I still have 19 films in there. And not all of them are horror films. You know, there's a pirate movie in there and et cetera. Hammer Films did a bunch of different things, but a lot of them are the horror films, so I'd like to get to them eventually. All right, next up is Black Sabbath. Yes, this is where the band Black Sabbath got its name. I've had this one for a long time, just never been able to watch it. Once again, it's a Region B. I'm glad that I did. It actually comes with both versions, the original, which is in Italian, I believe, and then the American version that was released with the English overdubs. It's 3 stories in one. So it's narrated by Boris Karloff, and then Boris Karloff is actually in one of the episodes. And it's, like I said, 3 mini stories. It's very interesting. It's definitely a classic. It's definitely a must watch. It's one that it's a classic. There's a reason why it has the notoriety it has. I watched the English version, but it kind of made me want to watch the Italian version eventually for 2 reasons. Number one, I'd be curious to see how it is in its original format, but also it's ordered different. And I'm kind of curious that does the order change the dynamic of the film? I don't know, but I would like to check it out, and I will eventually. It's a must watch. Once again, you have to take it for what it is in the late 60s. You cannot sit there and watch it and pick apart, at times what we would term the cheesiness of it. I don't think it's that way. I think it's a classic for a reason, but I can see why people would see that element and let it bother them, but you have to watch it based on the period of time, and if you do, you'll really enjoy it. All right, so that same night, and I didn't do this on purpose, but it kind of worked out this way, I decided to watch one more, and so I went with White Zombie because it's a pretty short movie, and by coincidence, yes, that's where the band White Zombie got their name from. So on the same night, I watched Black Sabbath and White Zombie. Kind of funny. Bela Lugosi first zombie movie. It's good. You know, it's not great. It's good. But it's one that definitely I wanted to own and definitely have. I'm a huge Bela Lugosi fan, and he does him, right? Even though he's not Dracula, and even though he's not that kind of villain, he's still a villain, and he has those eyes, and they still shoot him the same way to show his power and his strength. And here's a guy, going back to the conviction, he is the parts he is. And so when he speaks, there's just such a natural way of bringing that across. And he's just so good. And it has such a power to it. And it just works. I don't know if you can see how they show his eyes. But they, you know, they just know how to promote Bela Lugosi. He is who he is, and everything he does is real and has such a conviction to it. And this is another one that just kind of plays into it. And how do they change him? The eyebrows are a bit different, right? And he has a goatee. That's it. That's how they make him different. They change the visual. They don't change the acting, the human. The acting in the human is the acting in the human. But they change the outer, and that's what it is. And then it's a story, right? It's not a vampire movie. It's a zombie movie. It just happens to be the first zombie movie, which is pretty cool. I'm not a big zombie guy. I don't like those kinds of movies, but I mean, Night of the Living Dead, it's a classic. It's one of my criterions. Love it. White Zombie is, you know, just one of those movies, and, you know, just running under an hour and 10 minutes. Why not? So check it out. All right. Down to our last two. All right. I had to pull out the Vincent Price Collection, Volume 2. For this one, I watched The Raven. You know, a lot of the movies that were made with Vincent Price were based off of poems from Edgar Allan Poe. And The Raven is one of those. So at times, there's things about it where you go, this is kind of corny. But Vincent Price, and then Peter Lorre, Boris Karloff. I mean, the cast is big time heavyweights of the time for this genre, excuse me, and it's just so good. It's just so good. Yeah, it's corny. Yeah, it's goofy. It's like we talked about Dr. Phibes, right? It's just, that's how the movies were made. And that's what made them great, and that's what makes them stand the test of time. But The Raven is just legendary. And The Pit and the Pendulum is another one that kind of follows off The Raven of like the top Vincent Price movies. I just ordered that, so I probably won't get around to it until next October because it fits that. But I'm looking forward to seeing it because it's supposedly one of his tops, and it's just enjoyable. But when you have a good cast and you have a good group of people working off each other, it makes for such an easy viewing, and that's the key. So what I would recommend is, you know, Google top 5 Vincent Price movies and watch them, because they're not going to lead you wrong, right? You can go on IMDb and it will give you the 5 ranked ones, and just watch those 5, you know. And then as you get down, there are some cornier ones, some ones that are not as good, but it's still a formula. It's still a way of getting, you know, these movies across, these stories across, these poems into movies across. And that's what they did a ton with Vincent Price, and that's what I love about them. They're great. Anyhow, down to our last movie. I really wanted to watch the new Halloween. I was gonna subscribe to Peacock so I could watch it, but we had some friends over, and my friend's new girlfriend, she had never seen the original Halloween, so we decided to go with the OG. We've talked about this before. I have 3 different versions of this film. I have a 35th anniversary. I have it in a box set. We watched the one in the box set, which is kind of cool because it not only has, it's the same video from the 35th anniversary. It has the 7.1 surround, but it also has the 2-channel mono audio on it, which is the original way that it was shown in the theater. So it was kind of cool to watch that version. I'm just showing you one of my cases because it was the first one I grabbed with the classic artwork on the cover. Yeah, what can you say? It's a classic. It never gets old. I can watch it a million times. when we were talking about it and she said that she had never seen it, it was a no-brainer. Let's break it out and watch it. I've said it before. This is not a horror film. This is a suspense thriller film. It's not a slasher film. It's a horror suspense film. I mean, a suspense thriller film. The later ones became slasher films, became more horror. This is more like, I've always compared it, it's Jaws, right? The idea of Michael Myers, the idea of the shark, right? And the way that they tie the music in to make you feel like the villain is around or the shark is around is genius. And John Carpenter did that amazingly. The way he shoots the film, sometimes from the perspective of Michael Myers, even when he was a kid, the way that he ties the music into the moments builds, right, and creates a suspense, creates that thrilling feel of things jumping out at you, even though they're not, and get you to jump. It's just really well done. And you know, movies for me like Jaws and this never get old. They never get old. And once again, the reason it works is because to the people they're dealing with, it's real. Even the kids, right? Do you believe in the boogeyman? You know, Tommy asked that question quite a bit throughout the movie. Who's the boogeyman? Is there a boogeyman, right? And there's a conviction to it. And then Jamie Lee Curtis, who plays Laurie, is telling him, there is no boogeyman, right? The conviction. It goes back to the theme. It would all be a joke if you didn't believe in it. It would all be a joke if you pretended, right? If you believe in it and it's real, it's not a joke. And you speak with conviction. And that's what makes it scary, is the people that are living in it are living in it. So they speak with that confidence of belief and passion and conviction, which reflects in the eyes, which makes the audience watch it and go, man, this is scary. If I was in this situation, blank. And that's what happens. And that's why that theme kind of hit me through this, right? Is that it is about the belief system. You know, when I sit in class and I watch people and there's moments and they laugh or they're aware, it shows me they're not all in. And when they're not all in, it reflects in the responses. So it's not real. So it's hard to watch that. When on the flip side, when they're all in, you see things happening, all of a sudden it plays out and there's those moments. And when there's those moments, you're like, wow, man, that's real. You can hear it in the conviction. You can see it in the eyes. And that's why that theme works throughout these movies. So just something to think about, something to keep in mind as you're doing this. Once again, why do I do these videos? For myself? No, I understand this stuff. That's why I've been teaching it for 30 years. I'm doing it for you so you can reflect back to these and go, okay, what movies do I need to watch and why do I need to watch them? Right? And what are the importance of my craft? Right? So last week, the importance we talked about with the eyes. This week, it's conviction. How do we tie all those things together? Go back to the other videos and watch the ones about different themes that we talk about and connect those to what we do. And if you do and you start to do it consistently, you have a chance. If you don't, you have no chance. Anyways, have a great weekend. Thanks for watching the videos. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Please pass this on to your friends. Let's get a following. Let's keep it going, and we'll see you soon.